Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is another edition of the Between the Lines podcast. Back for another week, and again, just a busy week one. And as always, joining me is Mike Clark from the Chicago Sun-Times and multiple various other outlets. If you can't find Mike in a format of a media format somewhere, you're not trying very hard. So, Mike, welcome. We are recording this on Labor Day Monday at about 11 a.m. So we've got a little early jump start on our day, hopefully. And but boy, interesting week one as it usually is. First of all, right at the top, rosters. I did pretty well this week for rosters. You?
Yeah, I did too. A little advanced planning always pays off. I
Yep.
reached out to a few schools ahead of time, and they came through for me. So no issues with that. The one issue I did mention it on an X post. One of the teams I saw on Thursday had silver uniforms with white numbers, which were almost impossible to make out for these old guys. So that's something that I know that this is a kind of a pet peeve of Michael O'Brien too. It comes up
It's
in
a pet
basketball.
peeve for a lot of media guys. Trust me, and I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it comes up sometimes in basketball, but more so in
Wasn't
football. We're
Didn't
farther
they
away.
pass? Wasn't it a national federation rule, like some uniform rule that they passed to outlaw those type of jerseys? I don't know. I thought there was.
Yeah, I mean there is. It supposedly, if you have some kind of a combination like that, there has to be like a very bold
Oh,
um,
right, like a
border
pin drawing.
around the numbers. Yeah, this one, this instance did not meet that standard. So I mean, and I don't know. I'm not entirely sure who's going to enforce that. I mean, if the teams get to the game, the referees are not going to forfeit the game because of the uniforms.
Yeah,
It's
right.
something. It's something that would be nice to be addressed. I don't know. I guess there was probably some point where some coaches were like, "Well, we're going to make ourselves very hard to scout because you're not able to read our numbers on film." But I don't know because I mean it doesn't seem to be much of a fashion choice. They don't look very good either, apart from the
Yeah.
fact that they
No,
can't be read. So I don't know.
in
That
a
was
lot
that
of
was
cases,
yeah,
Mike, you will know they're trying to appease the kids. The kids think they're cool, so they want to do kind of something that the kids want. I get it, but yeah, no, it does not help. And then the wicked combination is the difficult jersey and no roster, which is the double whammy. So,
oh yes.
moving on. I've got to say we've had some tremendous weather. This might have been one of the best weather weekends. Now, that being noted, some of us actually got rained on a little bit Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think I'm looking.
there was a little bit of rain at Cary Grove right at the beginning of the game, but didn't really affect it. We were a little concerned because that's one of the last grass fields around, but it was light and brief, so it wasn't really anything that impacted the game.
By the way, that will change, I believe, beginning next year. I want to say I think Cary is first getting turf, and then it's all the schools in that district. So Cary's getting turf, Prairie Ridge is getting turf, and the two Crystal Lakes are also going to get turf. Talking about a huge project. That is a huge project, but that begins
Absolutely.
next year. So
Yeah, I mean, and I think we're going to lose something. Actually, we'll talk about the game a little bit later, but one of the things that struck me is, Cary Grove is just absolute perfect game night atmosphere.
yeah, it's great.
The game night management by the staff and administration is just absolutely perfect, I think. You know, they knew it was going to be a big crowd, so they were organized enough to set up overflow parking in the grass in front of the school. Um, the concession stand is like the most efficient concession stand I think I've ever seen at a high school
Really
game. Oh yeah,
nice.
they had a bunch of lines open. Nice, really nice selection too. They had barbecue pulled pork, which is what I went with. They had
Oh yeah.
pizza, they had burgers, they had hot dogs. They did have rosters too, and it's just very efficiently run. The people are very friendly. You've been there, you know that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's a very old school type atmosphere. The uniforms, the Penn State uniforms. I mean, it's just I think anybody who's a high school football fan and maybe hasn't been there because obviously it's
Yeah.
out of ways in the Northwest burbs,
But
but
go.
yeah, you owe it to yourself to go take in one of the great high school football experiences in the state of Illinois, which is at Cary Grove.
I totally agree. And Mike, to me, it's always been kind of that perfect combination of small school atmosphere, small town atmosphere, but bigger enrollment schools. I mean, it's that Friday night. There's nothing else going on in town. Nothing else major in that area. So everyone's there. You get youth programs that are there. You get everyone from both sides of town end up going. And you're right. It's honestly, it's like that in the Fox Valley. It really is. I mean, even with the couple of big enrollment schools like Jacobs and Huntley, it still has that atmosphere, that Friday night atmosphere. And Mike, as you know, where I'm located right now, and you're a little bit south of me, this whole Joliet area, I think is very comparable to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you talk about some of the places in the Fox Valley. I mean, I remember the first time I went to a game at Jacobs. My goodness, you walk down the hill
Yeah. Yep.
to the field, which is just a spectacular setting, especially later in the season when the leaves are turning. I mean, it's just like a picture postcard type of a view. So that conference has got some fun places to go see games for sure.
So before we get into the actual game, wrapping up our postcard to the Fox Valley Conference here, I go back in the days where Mike Knoll ruled the earth with McHenry and would put a 40-point clock on the entire conference in some seasons. So a lot has changed in the Fox Valley, and the football has gotten incredibly better over the years, Mike. And yeah, it's fun for sure. It's a great atmosphere. All right, let's get on with it a little bit. Let's talk about the actual games that went on. I guess I'll start with my games. Friday night, I was out at Kankakee. And again, you talk about great people. Always enjoy going to Kankakee. Ronnie, the AD, always very welcoming. And pretty solid game. Naz took on Kankakee. Naz obviously juggling a couple of quarterbacks this year, which is going to, obviously in week 1 is going to be more commonplace than not. Little bit of a slow start, but second half, Naz kind of got their wind a little bit and settled in and able to come away with a 33-12 win over Kankakee. My kind of one of those games I thought I'd expect. One of the reasons I really was intrigued by this was to see how Naz would look and how they would operate minus Logan Malachuk, minus Gabe Kaminsky. I mean, those are just 2 of several multi-year starters that graduated, multi-state champions out of that class. And Mike, everything I saw, there's the makings of another very, very good Naz team there. Might take a little while. And again, the schedule isn't getting any easier for them. I know they're hosting Morgan Park this week. We'll get to the Mustangs in a little bit. But, all systems go for Naz. Tim Ranke talked about, first half, they kind of take out the cobwebs a little bit. But again, there's, Jake Crestone with a big second half, couple of touchdown catches. Trenton Walker's an impact player, also at the other end, a receiver. And defensively, I thought they did a really nice job. Chris Caskey is a junior who's already drawn offers, Mike, and he's the real deal. They had a really good game. Again, Luke Njay-Choke was on the offensive line for Naz, definitely a leader there. Got a lot of offers and interest as well. So kind of what you expected from Naz. And Kankakee, Mike, I mean, the Canes are going to be just fine. Like I said, they go on the road. They play at Lincoln Way East, which, I'm sure we'll get into them as well. But that's no easy task. But the Kankakee will go into the conference, and they're going to be very good. Philip Turner, junior quarterback, Mike, for Kankakee. Definitely a name to keep an eye on. He is a very good quarterback. Good arm, really good arm strength, and does a lot of good things. And the Canes always have skill, explosive type guys, and they do again this year. So pretty solid opening game.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise. I saw that game the last 2 years, and probably would have seen it this year too. But we didn't have Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge in week 1.
Yeah,
I felt we really had to see that one.
The coaches, I think it's going to continue. I talked to both sides, and they Kankakee likes playing Naz because it's a high level football. It's physical football. It's stuff that if they have playoff aspirations, that's what you're going to run into. And Naz on the flip side, probably one of the faster teams, position by position, you'll see in Kankakee, and so it definitely tests Naz playing against a faster team. And I just think it seems to work. They both seem to get along, and it's great. That's what you want to see. That's the kind of contrast in different games you want to see week one. So I'll move on to my Saturday game. Saturday, I was at lovely Gately Stadium on Saturday, as I mentioned. Weather just absolutely tremendous at Gately on Saturday. A barn burner, Mike, 11-8 final. Downers Grove North beats Morgan Park. And some of my takeaways from the game is this is a different Morgan Park team this year, Mike. This is a Morgan Park team that went pretty much power running football and stayed with it for 4 quarters. Chris James told me in the summer a little bit that it's going to be a little bit different looking team, and they definitely showed it. Big up front, Mike Clark, very big, strong, physical offensive line, very good defensive line. I think really surprised a lot of people, surprised me, surprised, I think, Downers Grove North to some extent. Especially the fact that Morgan Park has one of the top wide receivers in the state and the city of Rankin. Mike, they went power football and did it really well. Again, for Downers Grove North, I think Owen Lansing would be the first to tell you he did not have a great game on Saturday. He finally got going in the second half, and it was a key to lead Downers North all the way deep into Morgan Park territory. And as a lot of people are aware, a walk-off 22-yard field goal, pretty wild. Again, Downers Grove North was driving. They were out of timeouts, got down, pretty close, inside around the 10. No timeouts. They scrambled, ran everybody onto the field, ran the kicking team onto the field. Just quick, boom, field goal. And I'm trying to remember the young man's name. I'm sure you have it there somewhere. Junior, plays linebacker, also the kicker for Downers Grove North. Had a great interview with him, which I'm going to put up on the site a little bit. But just a very tight, in some ways, Mike, a very, very typical week one. You saw some good, you saw some sloppy, but bottom line when it comes down, Baker Glom, by the way, is the name I was searching for. So Downers North Junior, linebacker, kicker, Baker Glom with the 22-yard field goal. Talked to him after the game. I know Michael Bryant was with me as well, and just a great young man, and claim that that's something that they practice quite a bit. The running onto the field and setting up in a hurry to kick. And, he said, no, they were pretty used to doing that because they had practiced it quite a bit, and just a great game, a great atmosphere. And, again, Downers North comes away definitely getting tested in week one and had to adjust to some things they didn't expect. And Morgan Park, and I know Chris James talked about it too, but said, hey, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And that's why we want to play teams like Downers North. So overall, Mike, a really, really strong game, and just a great overall atmosphere at Gately.
Yeah, no surprise. A little bit of a surprise, I guess, with the style that Morgan Park has shifted to. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the rest of the season. So for my games, I saw 4 this weekend. Saw a couple on Thursday over at Rockney. Kennedy 15, Clemente 8. Kennedy's returning state playoff team, won the White Southwest last year, moved up to the White South, or no, they won the White Southwest. They're still in the White Southwest. A lot of new faces for Kennedy. Mason Rychetsky is a name to watch. He's their quarterback. He was actually the JV quarterback at Montini last year. He's transferred a couple of times. He started out at Kennedy. He's back at Kennedy now. His best sport is actually baseball. He was all over the country at showcase camps for baseball. One of the best pitchers in the city. He's a guy to keep an eye out for. Kennedy will be getting better. They got one of the best coaches in the city. Rob Albano played at Lions and is really done a great job of elevating the Kennedy program. Uh, Second game there, Curie and Johnson. Curie 26-6 over Johnson. And another program on the rise, Jarve Lewis Bay, is in his second season at Curie. His offensive coordinator is Keenan Phillips Riley, who's the former head coach at Hyde Park. They've known each other for a long time. I wrote a story about that for the Sun-Times last year. They came in here as a team, and they really revitalized a program that had really fallen on hard times. Curie, a lot of fans will remember. Curie's been a long time power in the public league under a bunch of different coaches, actually, and they are on their way back. This coaching staff has got a lot of the athletes in the school out, bunch of basketball players, and one of them, here's a name to watch. His name is Dream Horton, and that is his real name.
Nice game. Love
I asked him about that. He's a sophomore, ran 2 kickoffs back for touchdowns, and just got a lot of athletes all over the field. Gabriel Taylor is the quarterback this year. Another basketball player, Kendall Holiday, another one of their standout basketball players, is a big force on defense. Keep an eye on Curie. They will be up in the top division of the public league before too long. Right now, they're in the white north, actually, but they will be up in the top division before too long.
Yeah.
Friday, again, I went to Cary Grove, Prairie Ridge. Takeaway there, Luke Vanderweel is a Player of the Year candidate.
Yeah, you know what? I thought he was going to be last year, and he had an unfortunate injury last year, Mike. But he had a big game last year as well against Cary Grove, and he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is just such a dynamic player. He's quick, but the thing that sets him apart is his ability to elude people and his ability to shift directions on a dime. He had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half against that Cary Grove defense, which is really good as usual. Prairie Ridge winds up winning the game, but second half they relied on Jake Wagler, who is their big junior fullback. Yeah, and the two of them are a load because you can game plan. You can say, okay, we're gonna. Well, I don't even know if Vanderweel can be shut down, but I mean, you can certainly focus your defense on him. But if you do that, then they just pound it right up the middle, right up the gut with Wagler. And Prairie Ridge is going to be a team to be reckoned with in 5A this year. They're one of the top 2 or 3 teams right now. Some people would probably say that they're the 5A favorite, just based on this game. Cary Grove, Logan Abrams did not play offense in this game. He only played defense.
I was going to ask you about that because a lot of people obviously noticed that.
Yeah, he just played defense, and Brad Seberg, the Cary Grove coach, said after the game that they thought their best chance to win was just to have him focus on defense. It's unclear whether Logan will be playing offense next week. They go to Burlington Central. We'll see about that. So that's kind of the story there. My Saturday game, I went out to Rockne again to see Good and Collins. Big win for Good over Collins. Good is one of the mid to upper level public league teams in the white division. We got the school. Some people may not be aware of it. The school's not that old. It's only been around since the mid 2010s. It's on the southwest side, but they've got a nice football program built. Terrence McLaren has been with the program since it started. He's been the head coach for a few years now. Quaylen Dobbs had 5 touchdowns, 4 rushing and 1 receiving for Good. That's a program record. And they were a playoff team last year, looking like a playoff team again this year. They do a pretty nice job. One of the things that I talked to Terrence McLaurin, the coach, about is that they're like a lot of teams in the city. They get a lot of kids who've never played football before they get to high school. Their quarterback actually did play football before, but most of their kids, Dobbs, and they have a very good lineman, left tackle named Ryan Ogburn. Neither one of them played football before high school, so the good coaching staff does a really nice job of developing kids and teaching them the game. So that was my weekend.
You had a busy weekend, obviously, and then you had to recap like 84 games, right?
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. So let's get into some of the other games. Took some notes here because there was a lot to take note of. Lincoln Way East 40, Maine South 0 in Park Ridge.
Yeah, didn't see that coming.
I think it stunned a lot of people. Not the fact that Lincoln Way East won. I mean, I'm not surprised by that fact. I'm surprised that it was a running clock. I think, the Maine South had some pretty big dreams and goals this year. They're not off the table necessarily, but certainly a reality check. Jonas Williams, 315 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Blake LaVista, the Libertyville transfer, is going to Washington, 6 catches, 118, and 2 TDs. And, Lincoln Way East defense really harassed Jameson Purcell, the Maine South quarterback. And, it's a defining statement for Lincoln Way East. We knew that they were good. I don't know that we knew they were this good necessarily this early in the season. So
it's going to be interesting to watch how they develop during the year East. And you mentioned LaVista at wide receiver, and then Jay Cawthon is another name that came in as a transfer, and he's another big play guy. And I think at that wide receiver position, they just got some bigger receiver in LaVista, and then an explosive guy in Cawthon, and they could be really, really, really a dangerous combination this year. So it'll be interesting to see. But then again, I mean, East, they'll host Kankakee this week, and then they go into their conference, Mike. And, by the looks of things, I don't know how tested they're going to get. And that was a knock on East last year. So we'll see. Just going to have to see how things roll during the year.
Yeah, there were a couple of interesting Catholic League Blue out-of-state games. First one, Mount Carmel went to Ironton, Ohio. They had a big multi-game event there. Carmel 43, Cincinnati Moeller 42, 35 years after they played the first time at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. How long ago was that? Well, the stadium got torn down. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I think, coming into the season was how would Emmett Dowling do stepping in for Jack Elliott at quarterback? Well, he did great. 382 passing yards, 64 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, and he threw the winning conversion to Quentin Burrell, their great junior receiver. After they scored with no time left on the clock, they got the conversion, went for 2. Really, really impressive win for the Caravan here to go on the road to play one of the iconic college or high school football names in the nation, Cincinnati Moeller, and to come away with that win, very impressive.
It's big. It's again, and I don't know how you feel about it. You can put as much credence or none into rankings for high school football, for teams or whatever. But they're profile programs. Moeller is a profile program in a national power, and to go out there on the road with a quarterback, really his first major start, does what he does. That's really impressive. And I talked to a few of our national guys that were there covering it, and they said, well, yeah, they're as good as we thought Mount Carmel was going to be, and raved about Burrell and Bone Crusher and some of the others, and just said talent level wise. And they said the same thing. Their biggest question going in was, would the quarterback be able to get it done? And they obviously resounding yes. So again, I think a really important win, and one that and you combine that with what East St. Louis did out east. They had their every chance to win that game and came up just short. But again, St. Louis going against the national power on the road and played as well as they did. It's I think it's positive for Illinois high school football myself.
Yeah. The other Catholic Blue team that went on the road out of state is Loyola, went to Merrillville, Indiana, won 21-14. Matthew Lee, the sophomore quarterback, 20-yard touchdown pass to Teddy Kurzweil, and 2-point conversion with 12.7 seconds left. Kind of a low-scoring game. Lee did not start the game at quarterback. They had Loyola's had a quarterback competition, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Just for a little perspective, Merrillville's probably the number 2 program in Northwest Indiana. Crown Point under Craig Bazia, the former HF coach, is arguably the best program in Northwest Indiana. They're both in the same conference, the Duneland Athletic Conference. Merrillville always has a lot of athletes and is always a really good program. So a good win for Loyola. Probably would have liked to have seen the offense click a little bit more. We'll see how that develops. Next one up, Glenbard West 31, Batavia 28. We have another walk-off field goal in this one. Jack Swick, a 24-yarder for the Hilltoppers, the hitters. And obviously last year was an uncharacteristic year for Glenbard West, missed the playoffs. They had a really tough early stretch of games and couldn't quite get that elusive 5th win that they needed. A lot of people are very bullish on the hitters this year. Looks like this was a huge game. Obviously, you go on the road to Batavia and win. Not an easy place to win. So, arrow is definitely pointing up for Glenbard West. And one of the things that Michael O'Brien pointed out in his Monday column is the West Suburban Silver looks really tough again. A lot of good wins for the West Suburban Silver. So, no surprise there. So, to your point about Lincoln Way East maybe not being tested much after the non-conference, I mean, that West Suburban Silver is a gauntlet, and all of those teams will be very well tested come playoff time.
Yeah, you look at the rest of that conference, Mike. I'll let you catch your breath there for a second. You look at the rest of the conference and how it did. Hinsdale Central put a big number on West Aurora. I think that surprised some people because I know West Aurora had some, a top Division I quarterback back and some other skill kids. So that was kind of eye-opening. We talked about Downers North and what they did against Morgan Park. And, again, up and down the line, I think one of the bigger surprises was Glenbrook South beating York. I believe that game was overtime. Was that an overtime game?
It was 35-28. And
but again, otherwise, it's going to be a good year in that conference. You're right. No question.
Yeah, I was looking around before we started recording here. Couldn't find any other details about that game, but obviously it was an overtime game. So impressive win for Glenbrook South. They're always one of the teams trying to push Maine South in the CSL South, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. Southside Battle, St. Rita 28, Marist 21. Stephen Armbruster, the St. Rita quarterback, had his 26th career touchdown pass in this game. That sets the St. Rita career record, actually. Another experienced quarterback. He's a good one for the Mustangs. The Mustangs, people remember last year, the only losses were to state champs. They lost twice to Mount Carmel and once to Loyola. So Mustangs have some pretty big goals this year. Another one on the south side out in the suburbs, Richards 51, Crete-Monee 41. I heard this game took 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Yay!
Which doesn't surprise me given the number of points being scored in both teams.
Yeah.
Both teams aired it out. Another returning quarterback theme here for Richards, Noah Escobedo. 305 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Crete-Monee has a returning quarterback as well, Darren Couch. Passed for 212, ran for 73, had 4 total touchdowns. Richards picked him off 4 times. So Richards, of course, made the semis last year in 6A, and I just saw apparently they're moving up to 7A. They're petitioning to go up to 7A.
They did. Yes, so they're moving to 7. Same with St. Rita, by the way.
Yeah. So Richards should be a force in 7A. A lot of starters back. I think 14 starters back, I want to say, from that 11-2 team.
Yep.
Crete is still going to be a team to be watched, certainly in 6A. Next one. Here's an interesting one. In our neck of the woods at Joliet Memorial Stadium, Lions 24, JCA 14. The stat that really sticks out, JCA 21 rushing yards on 19 carries.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the Lions defense was really impressive. Here's another one. The Lions in the second half, spanning the third and fourth quarters, had a 20-play drive spanning 11:56. You don't see that at any level.
No, it's Joliet
So,
Catholic. No.
yeah. So first-year quarterback Jack Slightum. Here's another impressive stat. Jack Slightum, 14 of 15 passing,
Wow.
81 and 2 touchdowns. So the Lions lost a lot, and they had a great season last year. They had their first unbeaten regular season in 50-some years, I want to say. And Lions is another team out of that West Suburban Silver. Don't discount that. This is a big win going on the road to win at Joliet Catholic. That defense and that ball control offense, that's going to win you some games for sure.
And now I will see everyone Saturday to Shawn Field for Joliet Catholic at Glenbard West on Saturday. So, Mike, you look at JCA's schedule, it does not get any easier. I mean, they are playing giant killers, it seems, every single week this year. So, yeah, the Hilltoppers are gonna have to lock in and have a really big week this week because they're going to play a hot team in Glenbard West.
Yeah. Circling back to Thursday, another big Thursday game, St. Francis 38, Kenwood 34. Brock Phillip, the new quarterback at St. Francis, who is a transfer from Geneva. Touchdown pass to Dario Milivojevic with 12 seconds left after a block punt. Phillip had 5 total touchdowns for the Spartans. St. Francis has been very, very good the last few years. They've been knocked out of the playoffs 3 years in a row by Nazareth, which won't happen this year because Nazareth has moved up to 6A. So St. Francis is definitely another team to watch in 5A. Keep an eye on that.
Hey, Mike, how do you pronounce Dario's last name?
I believe it's Milivojevic.
Listen to that. That is an experienced guy that's been around the Northwest region in Northwest Indiana. That's beautiful. You nailed that Slavic name like that. Awesome.
Yeah, well, it helped that his brothers was around for a few years, obviously, beforehand.
And the dad's a coach, so I get it, but still, you nailed it, Mike. Well done.
Yes. Last one on my list here for the big game: St. Charles North 36, Manuka 35.
Yeah.
Jesse Padron, a TD pass to Braden Harris, and Keaton Rinke, the Northwestern recruit, 2-point conversion run with 55 seconds left. Big win for the North Stars. And, one of the sidelights here is, Mount Carmel went for 2 to win it. St. Charles North went for 2 to win it. You see a lot. This happened a lot at the high school level. Never happens at the pro level. Never happens at seldom happens at the college level, I would say. But high school coaches are more prone to go in.
Yeah.
Which I love. I think that's
me too.
I think it's a great show of confidence in your kids. You believe in your offense that you can get the conversion and win the game rather than trying to play for overtime. So I love that aggressiveness and that strategy. And one more big performance that has to be mentioned. Warren beats Hersey 43-36. Aaron Stewart, 43 carries, 438 yards, and 6 touchdowns. For
good team they beat too, by the way.
For the Blue Devils. We've talked about Aaron Stewart being a Player of the Year candidate. Somebody mentioned, I'm sorry, I should have noted, so I could give them credit, but I did see it while I was doing research that last year Aaron Stewart had like 360 yards against Hersey in the opener. So this year he just did 70 yards better. He averaged over 200 and some yards a game last year, and I mean, you know, I don't know that you're going to rush for 430 every week, but I mean that's
Right.
quite a start. I mean that there are teams that are going to be out there that their leading rusher may not have more than 438 yards in a
No,
season
no
if you've
doubt.
got one game. So
No doubt. Again, they've got another great game this week. They're hosting Maine South. So again, those are two of the better teams in the Northwest or North Burbs that are going to clash. That Mike, that's always been a really good game between those two.
right. So we put it out this week as we often do for questions, and had a good response this week. So let's get to those. Bill Lashober, who I've known for quite a while, big prep sports fan. He asks, will Illinois ever allow everyone in the playoffs? Loyola not being able to find a week 2 opponent because no one will play them. Yet Maryville and Valparaiso, which played Brother Rice, gladly accept the challenge, and because they will be better in the long run playing Loyola and Rice. So just a little bit of context there for some viewers. Indiana lets everybody in. So
Yep.
there, you don't have to worry about getting to a number in Indiana. So that's kind of what he's getting at there. Will Illinois ever let everyone in the playoffs? I sure hope not.
You and I are lockstep on this. I agree. I
Yeah.
don't ever want to see it, but Bill's asking the question, will we see it someday? Fortunately, Mike, I think we will.
I don't think we're going to see everybody in. I think that the proposal we've talked about a lot last year, which I still think is the best one, which is increasing the current field by another 50%. So bringing in another 128, which would make it 384, and that brings in pretty much everybody who has 3 wins or more. And I think there are a couple of advantages in particular to this. Number one is, so that means there are buys for the top teams, and that theoretically creates more competitive first round games because you'd have like a 4 seed versus a 9 seed, or a 3 versus a 6 or something like that. I don't know all the logistics, but so
Right.
theoretically your first round games hopefully would be a little bit more competitive than they currently are. And following from that, your second round games hopefully would be better also, because you would have no top seeds playing no bottom seeds. I mean, unless there's upsets, but I mean, then the bottom seed earned it. But I think you could make a pretty good argument for this case. I don't think once you get below 3 wins, even in the powerful conferences like the West Suburban Silver, I don't know that there's much added value of bringing in more teams than that. And I can tell you from covering a lot of public league football, um, it's interesting that there's some people who are clamoring, let's get everybody in, and they're also some of the same people who say, why do all these public league teams make the playoffs when they're not as competitive as some other teams? Well, those are two opposing ideas, basically. If
Right.
you and the lower level public league teams, which is the teams in the blue, these are a couple of kinds of programs. Some of them are emerging programs. There are programs that have been shut down and are restarting, in the process of restarting. So, you know, they have a long way to go to be competitive, even within the public league, let alone
Right.
beyond. And there are some other programs that have just kind of fallen on hard times. They didn't have a pause or a shutdown, but they're just they're in a tough spot. One of the issues is that there's a lot of smaller schools in the city. There's been a school closing moratorium for the last, I think it's 5 or 6 years. So there's some schools with declining enrollments are trying to keep football going. There's schools with 200 kids, 300 kids that have a hard time getting kids out. So, anyway, bottom line is I don't think we need to get everybody in, and I don't think a lot of those teams want to even be in the state playoffs.
No, no.
So
That I agree with, no question.
yeah, so I think again, boosting the field by 50%, getting us to 384 first round buys, more competitive first and second round games. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, totally fair. I think that's where it's headed. Another question?
Yes, Marquise Brown has the question: will this be the year Mount Carmel beats Loyola? You want to tackle that one first?
Can you ask me in like 7 weeks from now? Could be, sure. If you want to go on paper, yeah, probably. Wouldn't count Ramblers out of anything though. They're too good. They're too well coached. They're still talent. As we talked about, it's a young team this year. You've got some tremendous skill kids, especially we mentioned Matthew Lee before, Jordan McKinley. There are some tremendous ball players. They're just kind of young, and they're gonna have to get some experience. And Loyola will get the quarterback situation figured out, whether it's Lee or the upperclassman, and they'll be just fine. So I wouldn't go out on a limb and pick one right now. Does it look like Mount Carmel's the favorite team? Yeah, they're top. They're a top-ranked team. So you can go with that. But Mr. Brown, give me about 5 more weeks. I'll have a better answer for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the other thing too is, this is the year when they could potentially meet twice.
Right.
They are scheduled to meet in week 9. They're both in 8A, could meet in the playoffs. Does that impact how that week 9 game goes? I don't know. I mean, and you remember last year too, Jack Elliott was on kind of a pitch count for his runs in that game. They were making sure that he was going to be healthy for the playoffs, which he was. Plan worked out well. So there's always that factor of, how much do we want to win that week 9 game, knowing that we're both going into the playoffs, not that.
And it doubles now, as you mentioned, because they're both going to be in the same class. So
Right.
you're going to play that game even more.
Right. And obviously no coach is going to go into a game not wanting to win, but there are also other considerations down the road that have to be taken into account. Next question is for Weather on the Go.
There's our guy. No, big score guy. Gets us a lot of scores.
Yes. Do you think this is the year the Dixon Dukes can get revenge on the Byron Tigers? Big game in week 2 this week. Some would say a conference championship. Well, you are the man for this question because unfortunately I do not follow Northwest.
Not a big Northern guy, are you? It's okay.
Yeah.
It could possibly be. I was at that game last year at Dixon, and it was a tremendous, tremendous game and atmosphere. Dixon still looks pretty good, but it's a little bit different of a team compared to last year. They were able to throw it pretty well last year and really went toe to toe with Byron for all 4 quarters. So Byron brings back Caden Considine for his senior year, who's an absolute monster at running back, and also plays linebacker. I know the quarterback is back. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a very, very good quarterback. He was a starter as a freshman. No, he was actually a freshman in the state title game. And he got brought in. I think he played a wingback and ended up scoring a couple of touchdowns in that state title game. So definite talent. I'd go with Byron, especially Byron at home. But you're right. It's going to be a tremendous atmosphere. And I had a blast last year. That was one of the best actual live games I took in all season. Just great fans, huge crowds. And Mike talked earlier about that smaller school atmosphere, and it's definitely going to be one at Byron.
Next question is from Wes Breton. What was the biggest surprise after week 1 games? Which teams are instantly hitting you as better and or maybe not as good as you thought going into the season?
That's a great question.
Yeah. I mean, as far as which teams are better than I thought they were, that's an interesting question. I guess I didn't know a ton about Glenbrook South, probably. So
same here.
I mean, the Titans. That's beating York in overtime. That was certainly a notable win. That's one off the top of my head. I think a lot of the other games, I guess you could maybe put Lions a little bit in that category because of all they lost, going to JCA and winning. But I know that the Lions folks thought they were going to be pretty good again this year. They're not. I don't
Yeah.
think they're particularly surprised by that. Maybe some people on the outside are a little bit surprised. As far as teams that are not quite as good, I mean, I think Maine South will figure it out, but that's a
Well,
hard
you
score.
mentioned it gets even more interesting now with Glenbrook South coming
Yeah,
along.
yeah. I
So
mean,
that changes that dynamic a little bit in that conference.
yeah. I mean, and no team season is over after one game, and
Right.
Dave and Sarah's got a long history of figuring it out. But I mean, that score is concerning. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I
So
think the team that probably they get overlooked a lot, and in most cases they shouldn't, that didn't win but looked really good to me, as we talked about earlier, is Morgan Park. A lot of people ask me, was it Downers North not playing well, Morgan Park playing well? So it was a little of both. Downers North didn't have a great early game, but don't take any credit away from Morgan Park. And anyone that saw the game would tell you, Morgan Park's pretty good again this year, Mike. A little different. We mentioned different offensively, but I think they're heading on the right path. So it's going to be interesting to see how Morgan Park does this week. Then once they hit the CPL, how they'll do going to the playoffs. But you got to remember too, Morgan Park's going to be a 5A team, and if Power plays well in any division, it's usually 5A. So I think this has got to point it in the right direction.
we have one more question from username D at Hot Muzzin. Is Providence Catholic back? That's a good question. I think that
It is huge
I would
game
say,
this week against Lincoln Way Central. Huge game. It was a great game last year. Going to be another great game. Lincoln Way Central is the team you want to actually all three Lincoln Ways you want to keep on your radar. West
right.
blowout win, Central blowout win, East blowout win. So again, all three of those programs have been consistently good, and I think Central and West continue to make that climb up a little bit. Again, Providence had some kids transfer out from last year, but there's still a lot of good young talent on that roster, and had a good talk. I talk pretty regularly with Tyler Plants, and he felt really encouraged about this team going into the season, Mike. So I say let's give us another week or two before we hop on that Providence bandwagon, but so far so good.
Yeah, I was actually going to look, because I noticed their score, and I didn't.
It was pretty it was a pretty considerable size win from what I remember.
Let me see what it was here. I should have looked that up first. Oh yeah, beat Wheaton Academy 49-14.
14, yeah.
So that's very impressive. Because Wheaton Academy is a perennial 4A powerhouse, and to win that one by 5 touchdowns, that's a very impressive win for the Celtics. Just missed the playoffs last year, of course, by one game. They finished 4-5. So I would say, I'm going to say the Celtics are back. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that goes. Hey, one thing I want to throw out there real quick, and I know we're running a little bit long, but Loyola, no game this year. No game this week. How big of an impact do you think?
I think it's kind of a big deal, actually, because
they're a young team.
Yeah, they have all those sophomores, and you would like those sophomores to get more reps. And it's not ideal for anybody, but I mean, they're going to figure out a way to get some as good a reps as they can in practice this week and come back in 2 weeks. But it's not ideal, and I mean, I know they tried very hard to find a game, and just didn't happen. So I don't. It's kind of hard to understand a little bit, because you don't see this. Never happens to Lincoln Way East. It never happens to Mount Carmel, There are other teams that are very good, and
They seem to find it. They seem to find a game.
they seem to find a game, and so we'll see. I mean, I'm not, I know how that sounds, or
You're not
how
bagging on anyone. Yeah, it's just
yeah,
this is
but
the
I mean,
reality.
it's just it's just strange to see that's happened here. Hopefully, they get their
Yep.
schedule filled next year. So
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good. Real quickly, some top games coming up this week in Chicagoland. We'll definitely go through the schedule a little bit. Mike, one of the oldest rivalry games in the state of Illinois and certainly the city of Chicago, Mount Carmel hosting St. Rita. Obviously, a big game all the time. We mentioned Loyola, unfortunately, is an open week this week, so no game for the Ramblers. Lincoln Way East at home hosting Kankakee. We mentioned Warren hosting Maine South is a big game in Chicagoland, no question. Working down the schedule, the Southside Super Bowl, Brother Rice at Marist. Always a big. It's a big gathering. I don't care what the sport is. It's a big deal over for both schools for sure. Saturday action we mentioned, Lombard West hosting Joliet Catholic. Mike, I'm pretty sure those two have never played. I know the JCA people are digging into their history stuff, but
I
I feel
love
pretty good.
I mean, I love like Hilltoppers versus Hilltoppers.
Exactly. Should be an interesting matchup for sure. St. Charles North, who beat Manuka, now they're hosting home in Flossmoor. Barrington is hosting Hersey. Some others, Prospect at Palatine. That's an interesting suburban tangle there, no question. Fenwick hosting Oak Park River Forest, a little neighborhood battle there, played out at the Triton College. Going through, trying to find a few others. It was a good game, Mike. Oswego hosting Geneva. It's one you don't see it very often and relatively close to each other. It should be a good ball game. Go ahead, Mike. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I didn't have anything else.
Okay.
But, I'm not sure where I'm going yet. I don't know if you know where you're going yet.
Sandburg hosting Richards. There's another one that's an interesting ball game this week.
Yeah, for sure. Sandburg coming off a big win over Andrew, and that's a big rivalry game for them. District 230 rivalry in the southwest suburbs. Seamus Murphy, who's the new head coach there after Troy McAllister left for Homewood Flossmoor. So that's a big one, especially with Richards coming off that big 51-41 win over Creed. So,
all right. I know Saturday I'm going to JCA Lombard West. I mean, that's too enticing a game to pass up. And Mike, Friday, I think I'm going to leave Thursday afternoon and drive up to Warren to go see Warren and Maine South. I should get there in time. So,
well, yes.
You know what kind of commute that is now.
I know. Well, my trip from Wilmington to Cary was a long one last week. Going from Shanahan to Gurnee is quite a hike as well. So
yeah. All right. Mike, anything else?
I don't think I have anything else. I certainly would. Oh, yes, I do. I do have something else. Live streams.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think you and I are the only ones that are fighting that battle or trying to.
So, folks, I noticed, I think it was right after we finished our recording from last week, that they started popping up on my X timeline, and this is what happens basically. You will see on your X timeline an account that will pop up.
That kind of looks good, but
Joliet Catholic at Glenbard West live stream, and that'll be like the name of the account, and it'll tag a lot of people, and you will notice that it follows no one and has very few followers, and the account was created like today or tomorrow, and these are scams, folks. They're trying to get your credit card information. They're trying to get you to give that to them, and then they will use that to scam you. And there are a lot of legitimate streams out there. I think one of the things that's going on is there are not a lot of free streams. There are some, but there are not a lot of streams that are free.
No.
So, excuse me, people are, I guess, kind of conditioned to expect to pay. So that's part of the problem. But if you do pay, I know NFHS, the National Federation of State High School Associations, they have something set up where a lot of games are streamed there, and you do have to pay for those. But there are also some of the different schools have feeds. Brother Rice usually does their games. Wabansie Valley does theirs. Notre Dame does theirs. There are a lot of schools that do it through a student broadcasting arm, basically. But always check to make sure that it's a legitimate stream. And if you have any questions, reach out to the athletic office at your school. Give them a call.
That's the advice you give, no doubt.
Shoot them an email and say, this is what I saw. Is this a real official stream? And basically, they will post the official streams. The ADs, the athletic accounts at the various schools will post the official streams. Often the individual football team accounts will post them as well. But please don't get sucked in by this, folks.
It's a mess. It really is. It's a mess. There's got to be a better way to manage it. Mike will come up with a solution for next week.
We'll get it.
All right. I think that's going to do it. So from Mike Clark and Meggie Tim, thanks, everybody. By the way, thank you for the question. So Mike or I or both of us, we will post things probably the morning. Today we're recording earlier than usual. We usually do this in the afternoon about 3 o'clock. So we'll put it out there that day. And by all means, if you have any questions or suggestions or thoughts, and we're always glad to at least listen. We might agree or disagree, but we'll definitely listen. So always love the feedback. And again, just thanks for watching, and we'll continue to come at you every week. So again, for Mike Clark and Meggie Tim, thanks, everybody. Have a great week. And by all means, get out there and go see a game. Bye.